Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Dowdell, and in this video we're going to walk through a Jetpack Compose project step by step so you can see exactly how to build an Android Studio. Now from the practice Compose Basics tutorial, we're going to start off by building the task manager, this task complete screen. The screen users, this is what they're going to see when they finish everything that they need to do for the day. Now, this is going to be great practice because it's going to teach two layout skills that you'll use constantly in Compose. That's centering content and controlling spacing with padding. Okay, so before we start our project, from this page, let's go ahead and we're going to download the image. So, if I click on this image here, it's going to take me to the image, and I'm just going to simply download this file so that I can have it, so that I can use it for my project. Now, from here, I want you to go ahead and you're going to open your Android Studio. Now, if you don't come to this screen here, go ahead. If you come to an open project already, just go ahead and close that project out so that you can get back to this screen. Okay, so from here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to click on New Project. And what we're going to choose is for this tutorial, we're going to choose empty activity. So that's usually selected by default. Then I'm going to go ahead and click next. And then for the name, I'm going to say task completed. Okay. And then my package name gets populated automatically. Okay. Um, I'm using Kotlin, and everything else I'm going to kind of keep at default. I'm going to go ahead and click Finish. Now, one thing I'm going to enlarge this is you're going to wait until this Cradle project, until the Cradle sync actually completes. Now, once the Cradle has synced, you should see main activity.kt file. If you do, that means you're in the right place. Also, make sure that over here in the file area that you're looking at project, okay, because that's what we're going to be working with, okay. Now, our screen uses a single image at the top. If you recall, as far as our design, let's go back to our design. Okay, so it uses this single image here at the top. So we're going to import this into the drawable folder. Now, just one thing I want you to remember is that Android resource names must be lowercase with underscores, okay, no spaces and things like that. So where I had actually downloaded the image, I'm going to go ahead and copy that image so that I can have it on my clipboard. Okay, and then we're going to go to, in our folder, we're going to go to Apps, we're going to go to Source, and we're going to go to Main, and then we're going to go to Resources, or RES, and then we're going to go to the Drawables folder. And here we're going to paste our image in. Okay, and so that's our image there. Ensure that the file name matches the code that we're going to be using. So it should be IC underscore task underscore complete .png. Okay. All right, and there we have our file. So again, this needs to be exactly the same as IC underscore task that underscore complete dot PNG. So at this point, if you can see this under your drawable folder, then you know you're good. Okay. So next, what we want to do is we want to add text to our strings.xml. And Compose will pull that string in using the string resource. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to, it's in apps, source, main, rest, but now we're going to go to values. Okay, and then we're going to open up strings.html, okay, and we're going to add a couple of lines in here. Okay, so pause if you need to, but we're adding two strings in. We're adding the text all tasks completed, and it's going to reference the name all underscore task underscore completed. And then we're adding in nice work, and we're going to have that represented by nice underscore work. Now, if your string IDs are green and they're not red, then that means that you're all good. All right, so we're going to we need to hit 3 UI requirements according to the instructions in the tutorial. Okay, so these were the instructions in the tutorial. So basically, we need to center everything vertically and horizontally on the screen. The first text is going to be bold with 24 dp top padding and an 8 dp bottom padding. And then the second text is going to be 16 sp as far as font size. Okay, so just kind of remember these. We're going to include these in as far as our requirements. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to our Compose. Okay, so let's go back to main activity.kt file. Okay, so we're going to build that string. We're going to build that screen in Compose. Okay, the main container will be a column because all of our items, as we saw in the layout, they stack vertically. You know, we've got that image, we've got the title, we've got the subtitle. And then we're going to center the column contents around using like an arrangement and an alignment. Okay, so we're going to create a composable within our main activity.kt. So I'm going to go here. And we're going to call it task completed screen. Okay. All right. Now, if you go to the actual Compose Basics tutorial, in the solutions code, it takes you to, for this solution, it's going to take you to sort of this solutions code here, which kind of gives us a little bit of scripting that we can actually use so that we don't have to type everything out. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that. I could have just clicked this, but I'm going to grab that, copy that. And within my completed task screen, I'm going to go ahead and add that. And that's okay that some of these things are red. We haven't really given it a lot of information, so that's fine. Okay, so like I said, the first thing we're going to do is, because of the fact that we want to have our items stacked, okay, vertically. So that's why we're using this column here in order to be able to do that. Okay, now we're going to use modifiers. So let's go ahead and we'll say modifier, sorry, modifier equals modifier. And we're going to fill the max width. And we're going to also fill the max height. Now we also want to, like I said, we want to arrange it so that the whole column is centered from top to bottom. So that's going to be our vertical arrangement, okay? And we're going to arrange it centered. And then we want that the items to be centered from left to right. So that's going to be, again, our horizontal. Okay. You can get rid of this. Actually, it's not in the right place. All right, and then as far as for our image, let's go ahead and let's load our image in that we copied. Okay, we'll fix these other things in a bit. Okay, and then the image is, we say painter equals image. And you see with the good thing about Android Studio, it does prompt you. It does give you as far as like the prompts of what it thinks based on like what we've loaded, you know, into the folder, and as we start to type, you know, what it assumes we're typing. So we can just press tab. Okay, and then the next thing is the text. Okay, so for our text, okay, we're going to pull that that all completed that we added, remember, to the strings.xml. And this is where we're going to be adding as far as that padding that we wanted to have. Okay. All right. So remember, it was 24 as far as the top, the bottom, 8. Okay. And then our font size, our font weight rather, was bold. Okay. And then remember, we had sort of that subline. Okay, this was our nice work. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of accept. Okay, so I know we have a lot of red here. We've got to actually handle some of this. Okay. Okay, so let's deal with this one first. So if we hover over it, oops, sometimes you can't grab it. Okay, what it's asking us to do is we need to import this class. So we're going to import the alignment class. Okay. And so it added it here as the alignment. Okay, so that took care of that one. Okay, for the image, let's go ahead and do import. And it's this foundation one that we want. So go ahead and click on that and see how it added that. So most of the time it's usually because we need to, um, import, various different classes into, um, our project. And then this last one here, that's because I actually made a mistake on as far as the spelling. I have all tasks, singular, completed, as opposed to the S. So I'm going to go ahead and add that on. So that gets saved and then that gets resolved there. So if you have anything else red, then go ahead, like I said, hover over it, see what it's asking you to resolve. Okay, so real quick, your column. Like I said, this is, if you need to pause this video, your column is going to include as far as the vertical arrangement, horizontal arrangement, of the content that's going to be in that column. And then what's going to be in that column, we're going to have an image, the image that we copied over. We've got that main text, that's going to say all tasks completed. And then we've got the subtask, which is that nice work. And that's going to be beneath that. Okay. And so if you should have this order: image, text, and text. Okay. So now we're going to call our composable screen from um, inside our scaffold here. And that's what's actually going to show it on the device. So we're going to replace this greetings here because we're not going to be pulling from the greetings composable. We're going to be pulling from the task completed screen. So we're going to replace all of this, okay, with task completed screen. Okay, so this happens basically because in um, our version, we're using a scaffold instead of a surface, and this is why we're seeing this error because Android is giving us this inner padding value, and so what we need to do is we need to apply that to our screen with a modifier so that our content doesn't get hidden by the scaffold layout elements. So the way that we do that is we're going to do a little modification here to our scaffold. First of all, let's start with the actual um, composable so that it accepts a modifier, and then we're going to feed it a modifier, when we call it. So here we're going to change. We're going to add to this. We're going to say modifier. Okay, so now it accepts a modifier. And so now what we have to do is we have to come here and we actually have to feed in our modifier into the function that we're calling it. Okay, and now see we've cleared up as far as that. Okay, so I don't think we have any other errors here, no. Okay, so next let's preview and check out our layout instantly. So the way that we do that is we're going to come down here to our preview, okay, and we're going to add as far as instead of greeting, we're going to go ahead and um, we're going to change this so that this is pulling up our preview for our completed task completed. So I'm just going to change this. Okay, and we'll use that and then, okay. All right, and we just need to do our split screen. Now, if your preview gets stuck on initializing, like mine seems to be, don't panic. You know, this happens sometimes. Usually it's just because the project hasn't rebuilt yet. So you're going to go ahead and rebuild the project or refresh the preview panel. Okay, now mine went ahead and it did render this time. But if you're still having problems, sort of a guaranteed fix is to go up to File and then click on Invalidate Caches, and then go ahead and do a restart and let your program, your Android Studio, actually restart. So here we've got it. The layout is exactly the way that we want it. And we could compare this to the screenshot that we saw in the actual, and it matches exactly. And so basically what you're looking for is just to make sure that all your content is centered vertically, you know, and horizontally. The first text is bold, and then the second, it also has padding. Okay, we've got padding there. And then the second text is just a little bit smaller, and it appears, um, you know, everything appears lined up. Okay, so, you know, even though this project was small, but it teaches a big skill, which is layout control. Um, if you can center content and space things properly, you can build a really clean UI. And so, maybe looking at what it is that you're trying to recreate, you may be able to use this kind of alignment, this kind of layout. Okay. So, all right, that's it for this walkthrough. Make sure you try building this again. I know that we kind of fumbled through it, but I wanted to do that so that you know how to handle unexpected things, when they came up within your code. Um, if you get stuck, go back, rewatch that section, of this video, and then just try to work through it step by step. Okay, other than that, I'll see you in the next video. Happy coding.